Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the proof that Islam is the truth. And today we are talking about what is proof and what is faith, and can we prove a religion to be true? Now let's go back to the issue of faith. What do we mean by faith? Now let's take an example. One of the things I often ask people is, do you believe that spins on its axis and goes round the sun in 365 days? Now most people I ask, they say, yes, we believe that. We do believe that's true. I said, do you believe it 100%? Are you absolutely sure? Do you really believe it? They say, yes, we believe it. We're sure it's true. It's a fact. That's what they call a fact. Then I say, okay, prove it. And it's very interesting how many times I get complete blank expressions. Because although most of us believe that the earth spins on its axis and goes round the sun in 365 days, if we were actually asked to prove it, then most of us would not be able to do that. That doesn't mean that we don't believe this thing based upon some good reasons. And of course, the reasons that we believe that is because, well, for example, the scientific community, scientists, have examined certain things, they've come up with certain theories, and they have made certain observations. So based upon those theories and those observations of those theories in practice, and so many scientists have observed this thing so many times, then they consider it to be a fact. They consider it to be something that is proven to be true. But of course, most of us ourselves couldn't really prove it. We wouldn't really know what exactly is the evidence. We might have some type of idea, but we have faith in the scientific community. We have faith in science because, well, look at what science has done. Look what science has produced. So there are many reasons that we might have faith in something. And this is a type of faith. It is a faith in science, and it's a faith in the teachings of science. It's maybe not what we're used to in terms of religious faith, but it's still a belief. It is still a type of faith. And therefore, when it comes to Islam, when it comes to the teachings of Islam, when it comes to our topic here, the proof that Islam is the truth, the evidences that we can accumulate to know that Islam is the divine revelation from Allah, then what we are really talking about here is this type of faith. It's the same type of faith that you have when you go to a doctor. And you put your faith and your trust in the doctor. And he examines you and he looks at you, and you believe that because he's the doctor, you trust him because he's the doctor, because he's studied, because he's got knowledge, you trust and you believe that his diagnosis is going to be accurate and is based upon some information. And so this is the type of faith that we are talking about in Islam. We don't mean, when we talk about faith in Islam, when we talk about belief, when we talk about Iman, we don't mean believing something unbelievable without any evidence. No. What we mean in Islam is we are asking you, Allah is asking you, to believe something entirely believable. That there is one God, that this universe has one creator. And if you watch my previous series of programs about the proof of the existence of God, which I do encourage you to refer to as an essential part of this, then you'll be familiar with what I'm talking about. So we are asking you, the Islam is asking you to believe that there is one God, and to believe that God has sent guidance to a human being, Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be upon him. And that God has given some evidences through which and by which any reasonable, rational person can come to know that Islam is truly the religion that has been revealed by the Creator of the heavens and the earth for the benefit of all the human beings. And so that is what we're going to be touching upon over this series. These evidences, What are they? Now, some of these evidences are rational proofs that are connected to what we've already talked about in previous series about the existence of God, but we're not going to be repeating that. What we're going to be going through is some of the miraculous aspects of the Quran. We'll be talking about what exactly is a miracle. What do we mean by a miracle exactly? What place does it have in this process of proving and understanding that something is from God? And we'll be going through those things to discuss and to understand these evidences. Finally, I would really like to finish with a surah from the Quran. And it's Surah Al-Bayyinah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Never كل الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين. So never will those people from the Ahl al-Kitab, from the people of the book, or the mushrikeen, or the people who are making shirk with Allah, they are making partners with Allah, whether it is the idol worshippers or the atheists or the pagans or whoever, they will never leave off their disbelief. They are not going to leave off their disbelieving in Allah, and they're not following Allah's guidance until there comes to them al-bayyinah, until it comes to them the clear evidence. So this is, Allah is telling us something really about the nature of people. People need evidence, they need proof, they need something to make them realize and understand that this thing or such and such thing is true. And what is that proof? Rasulun min Allah, a prophet, a messenger from Allah. So this is one thing. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself is of course one of the clear evidences that Islam is the truth. And actually we talked about this already in a previous series of lectures, so we won't be repeating that. Rasulun min Allah yatlu suhufan mutahhara. And that means that he is bringing purified pages. And this here is a reference to, of course, the Quran. And that is something that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the Quran. This is, of course, the great miracle that Allah has given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Quran. Fiha qutubun qayyima. And that means with like the laws that are clear and that are obvious. So this is the other thing. It is the guidance of Islam, the guidance of the Quran, the laws that are there in the religion of Islam. This is another whole topic, my dear brothers and sisters, that we're going to be exploring. Some of the beautiful aspects of the religion of Islam, the Muslim way of life, how we can examine it, and how this way of life itself is a type of proof and an evidence that it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are some of the areas that we are going to be examining. We're going to be talking about the Quran. We're going to be talking about the preservation of the Quran, the memorization of the Quran, some of the miraculous aspects of the Quran, for example, the amazing scientific facts that are contained in the Quran, the historical information, the facts that there are concerning historical events that no one could have known 1,400 years ago. Also the prophecies of the Quran and the prophecies of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some things the Quran tells us about the future, and things that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us about the future, things that he said were going to happen, and they happened exactly how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it would happen. Also, we're going to be talking about the miracles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the amazing things that were done by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in addition, of course, to the miraculous nature of the Quran, its linguistic, miraculous nature, the beauty of the Quran, and other amazing facts about the Quran. Also, we will be talking about the witnessing of the people of the book. This is one of the very strong evidences that many people from Ahl al-Kitab, from the scholars of the Jews and the Christians, have recognized that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is the messenger of Allah. So inshallah we will be mentioning some of those evidences that have been used from the Bible to show that the Prophet ﷺ has been foretold in their scriptures. And also we'll be talking about the stories of some of those people like Abdullah ibn Salam, one of the Jewish rabbis of Medina, and of course the famous story of Salman al-Farsi, which is very, very instructive in that regard. So we'll be talking about some of those things, which is a very, very interesting aspect, which is another series of evidences. And that's what we say, we're going to bring these evidences together. The miraculous nature of the Quran, the linguistic miracle of the Quran, the scientific statements, the historical statements, the witnessing of the people of the book, the prophecies of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Really, in fact, if we looked at any single one of these items, they would be really unique and amazing. But really, when we begin to combine them and we begin to gather them all together, we can see that really we have so many evidences to amass from so many different angles to show that really our claim is not just a claim. It is not just something we are saying based upon just faith as people understand it, I believe it. No. Really, there are many, many good, strong reasons to believe that Islam is exactly what it claims to be. The revelation from Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, for the benefit of all of humanity. And as something I would like to really add, maybe it's not exactly part of our topic, but I would like to add it, is that evidence is very important for us as Muslims. Whatever you do as a Muslim, whatever you believe as a Muslim, whatever you practice as a Muslim, it should be based upon evidence. Our religion is not based upon guesswork. It's not based upon what I think or what I imagine or upon some cultures or some traditions that we may follow. Being a Muslim is supposed to be based upon following the evidence. And the evidence means what the Quran says and what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. So my brothers and sisters, we'll look forward to you in our next program to continue with this exciting discussion. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala wa barakatuh.